All right, this time I'm not gonna screw up the frickin' video. So today is Sunday. This car's been pretty dirty, got a bunch of bugs and crap all over it, so I need to get it cleaned up. So, but I kind of want to skip this part because I did want to go over to the Evo arrived, so I do want to go mess with that thing. What are you guys doing? I don't want you. Yeah, I don't know if I want you watching me.
You have more than.
All right.
People watching you. Yeah.
All right. So, all right, you guys can't be hanging out in here. I need to work. No, I mean like either like I need you to go. So, anyway, the Evo arrived. Last week, I shot the frickin' Brewster. I was so pumped. I was like, this is sweet. Get the car nice and clean. And then the microphone. There's an onboard mic on the camera, and I just didn't double check it. So I can see the audio metering, but I couldn't see the... and I couldn't see if it was, I didn't realize it wasn't the microphone that's on me right now. It was the microphone on the camera. So frickin' video is terrible. But I figured it's better to have a video than not. So I put it up and then everybody yells at me. But yeah, so this car I've been driving because the little bit of driving I've been doing because the E36 was down while we were messing with the fixing the sunroof, and now there's some weird suspension clunk. Like I can't handle that 90s business. It's just too many freaking problems, driving me nuts. I thought we were gonna fix so there's a little bit of dulling in the gauge cluster. So I have a prototype black bristle, which is softer bristle, and then the regular Detail Factory brush that's a little stiffer, and so the black bristle, I don't know, I think I like it better. So we finally got press all moving, hopefully on the tips. Bryce and Tommy have been after it. So once we can get the tips fixed, then we're good to go. It still has a difficult time, you know, this spray head's probably like a year old. So it has a difficult time with this heavy alkalinity stuff. I gotta call Dave. Dave Phillips said he was sending me a lower pH'd brake buster. So, I don't know, I gotta text him. I'll text him after this video and see what he says. So, I mean, this car, I put the radar detector in a little while back. I don't even think I did that on camera, but I put the S Passport Max 360, and then let's see, I haven't really done anything else to it. I'd really like, so I have the Auto Solution short shifter on it, but I think I'd like to do a little taller, so I like the throws, but it's a real stubby looking, like short, the arm is really short on it. And so I think I'd like to get a different one, like a longer, a little taller, closer to stock arm. Oh yeah, I got my new, these are, I bought these for the trip to Canada for hiking. These are Gore-Tex X Ultra 4s from Salomon. They're freaking awesome. my new car wash and shoe. I had Solomon's. Those of you guys have been following a long time. I had Solomon's that I would wear, but they felt terrible. They weren't comfortable. The laces were goofy. I mean, that was in 2014, like early days, that I thought would be my car washing shoes. And then I never came back to them, but since I've been hiking a lot, I bought the mid top, the mid whatever you call them, the mids, and version of these for Helen. I was hiking and I'm like, wow, these things are incredible. And then I wore these the whole Canada trip. Felt great. You know, when you have a real shoe versus like a, you know, a Nike or something like that, that's more of a profit engine than it is a quality shoe. It throws you off a little bit. It feels weird. Your feet feel like they're being flown in first class, if you will. I'm really digging washing in the garage, man. I don't think I can go back outside again in the summer anyway. I think I gotta stay inside. It's nice and comfy. It's the way to be. The way to go. I'm gonna run this video a little darker because I feel like it was too bright. So I'm gonna run it a little underexposed according to the meter on the camera, and we'll see how that turns out. Telling you, if you have an E92, people, you have to get the American Racing Headers full exhaust. Get the resonated version, 1 5/8 inch headers. It's no question the best exhaust for this car. It's not even close. There's absolutely no drone. Loud and nasty when you want it to be. Just great. It's like almost too easy now. Dundon for Porsche, ARH for the E92. It's like only took me 10 years to figure that out. I'm trying all kinds of other crap. That's the general theme of my whole existence, is to find a way to, or do the work, if you will. Do the work, do the testing, and then you get to a place where you have the right product for the right task. Let's go, bro. Not you, Jetty. Can't come in, Jetty. Sorry. JC, go back outside. Go back outside with Jetty. You guys want to hang out in here with me? You got to calm down, though. Jetty, remember you got to wash right. Yeah. Two pups, two puppies. Yeah. All right, get out of here. Go that way. They're going to go crazy. I think it's going to last about 2 minutes. There's another big controversy in the Facebook group of like, I just opened the doors up to take all the cars out, and it's kind of a little bit hot in here. Actually, I'm going to turn the mini split down, get it working a little harder. So somebody had asked, from what I can tell, a legitimate question. He's like, hey, in the last video you'd mentioned that so I have a mini split in the garage, I got fans in the garage. I don't like to run the fans when I'm making a video because they're, it's too loud. So his question in the group was, well, why do you do that? I thought it was pretty obvious, but maybe it wouldn't make sense. But, I've got a mini split, which is, a nice little air conditioner. It's properly sized for the garage. And then I've got fans to help it out sometimes. Like in the winter, I may just turn the fans on and not have the air conditioning on. But I pretty much run the AC all year long here. It keeps the humidity under control. It's better for your cars. It's better for all the equipment in here. It doesn't cost a lot. I mean, the Mitsubishi is probably like 26 SEER or something like that. So it's super duper efficient. And so the cost per year on running that thing is probably, $100, $200. It's pretty inexpensive to run a mini split system. So, and these doors are insulated. The garage is insulated up in the attic. The walls are block, so they have a reasonable R value. So it's a sealed off, insulated. The walls, the house are insulated. So it's basically a sealed air conditioned envelope. But what I'll do most of the time, and I would do this now if I didn't have two, kids running around. Kate has a buddy over and they're really loud. But normally what I would do, especially after I've moved some cars around and opened the doors up to the outside, it's like 95 degrees outside right now and like 90-ish% humidity, high 80s, low 90s in the humidity percentage range. And so as soon as you open the door, it lets in a wave of heat and humidity. So right now it's probably like, what's it say, 78 degrees in here. I normally keep it's like 73, 74. I mean, I have it set the thermostat to 73 on the mini split. Now, the air conditioning system for the house, and it shouldn't be, I don't think it can be attached by code. You would need a separate AC system, so that's why you do a mini split. It's just easier. You don't want to have the AC system attached, with returns and stuff for the house because of the potential for, carbon monoxide issues. So I really like this softer brush. So anyway, in the video I'd mentioned that oftentimes what I'll do is I'll open up the door to the house. It kind of equalizes the whole envelope, right? Because even though I'm a separate air conditioning system, and the AC system, after you open these big giant doors, it takes a little while for it to recover. You like hanging out washing? You like washing? Yeah, Chase. Yeah. Oh, no. All right, go over there. I gotta keep working. JC. That's a buddy. That's a good boy. All right, you guys, I need some room. Back it up. Go over there. Go play. If you guys are gonna be in here, you gotta give me some room. You gotta give me some room to work. Good job. Tracy, take your friend, you know how to do this. Take your friend away. Good job, buddies. I need some room to work. Go get Chase. Go get him. Go get Chase. You guys want to go outside? So anyway, think about this. I have a 5-ton AC unit in the house, and then I think this is a 2-ton? I don't know. Whatever. The Mitsubishi's a 18,000 BTU unit. So I'll open the door to the house to help get air circulating. It, just cools down the envelope a little quicker. In a perfect world, I turn the fans on, turn that up a bit, get the temperature and humidity back down under control. Plus, mini splits don't dehumidify very well anyway. They're terrible dehumidifiers. That's why the Brian Orr, my buddy, who's an expert in air conditioning, he said. Oftentimes what we'll do is we'll undersize. So I'm like right at the edge because I've got about 900 square feet in here and there's a little taller ceilings. So I'm at the edge of doing it was a 32,000 BTU unit. Yeah.
How many more minutes?
What are you talking about? So the go away. So the undersizing the unit a little bit does help with running it a bit more often, which does tend to help a little bit with dehumidification because the unit tends to run longer more often. So anyway, moral of the story here is I open that door up to the house because then, it's 72 degrees in the house, 73 degrees in the house, and then it helps to cool the garage down. And then most of the time I just leave that door open to the house. Because this is like, this garage is cleaner than most people's freaking living rooms. So having them connected is not the world's worst thing. So that's the story. And then some people lose their minds. I think they thought the guy's question was, do you leave the air conditioner door open to the house with the garage doors open? I mean, that would be dumb. I just do it to help equalize and cool down the garage whenever I open the big garage doors. So anyway, seems to make logical sense to me. Then it turned into a whole debate, and some dork starts talking about the bucket package, and then they get into a debate. He's like, "Oh, I can build a bucket package for $20." I'm sure you can. I've heard that one a million times. This whole argument, this like, 30-something, 40, 50-something loser talk of rich and poor is crazy to me. So that, there are people who start arguing back and forth about, well, that's only something a rich person would do. Like rich people are stupid or something. First of all, aren't rich people the smart people? Isn't that how it works? If you're stupid, you don't get rich, but if you are smart, you tend to get rich, or you can. If you take risk and you provide value to the world, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it turned into this whole debate. That mentality of people that is just so weird to me. Like, I just never had that. What are you guys doing today?
I'm going to the lake house.
Ooh.
Are you coming?
No, I've got work to do. So we rented a lake house for the WIT month, and I haven't even been there. So you got different colored socks on, Kate? Your socks are gonna get wet.
These aren't even mine.
Yeah. Are you guys gonna start a YouTube channel?
Yep.
What's it gonna be called?
Addison and Katie Bell. No, I'm kidding.
No, that's weak.
It's called skin, because skincare. I said it can't be called that.
Oh.
Because they do skincare every day together.
Yeah.
Isn't my friend? Oh. I don't think they can see us.
Go up closer, and you guys can see yourselves.
Oh yeah. So here's a YouTube trick, people. When you're on camera, you can't look at yourself on camera because then you look weird. You look like you're cross-eyed or something.
Look in the camera.
So you have to look at the lens, not yourself. So when you talk to the camera, it's like you're talking to, like if I'm looking at you, imagine I'm looking past you, so I'm talking to you. What does it look like? Doesn't it look like I'm looking past you? When I look at your eyes, then I'm talking to you. So when you're doing TikToks or you're doing anything on camera, you look at the lens, not at yourself on the screen like you're doing right now. All right, one more minute. What do you got to say?
Okay.
So let's talk about what you want your YouTube channel to be.
Okay, so our YouTube channel is we're gonna do skincare together, and he's having a sleepover at our house. Yeah, we're having.
I don't think they know what skincare means. What does that mean?
So it's like there's like lotions. There's a lot of different like brands, like Drunk Elephant, Bubble, and all those different kind of brands. Skincare. And so it's like lotion kind of you put on your face, and it's like so there's a lot of different kinds of like moisturizer, cleanser, oils. Yeah.
Isn't it kind of like I'm taking care of my car?
Yeah.
All the different products.
When you have pimples, if you use pimple patches, they're like, oh gosh, she's really doing this.
Can I spray this on your face?
No.
All right, I gotta go.
We have the car, pretend that's our face.
All right, I gotta go to work
Sprays
here.
chemicals on it.
I gotta go back to work.
Bye, Sled. Should I go sleigh?
That was so embarrassing.
Oh boy. I'm creating monsters here. All right, so I'm pre-washing here. I'm gonna have a panel impact ratio or dilution that hits the panel of around 4%-ish. So I've got straight built Hamber touchless in the foam cannon. So my calculation is not perfect. When I run the calculation, it says that I would need what? So this is 1,000. I would need like a little over 1,000. So I need a little bit more concentrated solution. So somewhere around, I would have to have 1,100. So in other words, I'd have to have more solution than I actually have because of the speed or the amount of water that's flowing through the foam cannon when I'm using the pressure washer. So I'm probably somewhere around 3.6, 3.7% is the dilution that gets on the panel. So I'm within the effective working range. And so rather than me trying to calculate and micromanage it, I'm gonna move around the car quickly so I'm not wasting a lot of product or using too much. Just need to get it on the surface. So when you're using a foam cannon, I think I finally figured out why this is the case. Let me finish filming this and I'll explain this in a minute. So I used, I don't know, 200 milliliters, 250 milliliters of product. I can put this back in the cabinet. It's good to go. Done. Donezo. Yeah, this washing and the air conditioner has really inspired me to get moving on building. You know, I wanted to build it. I talked about this last week, but you probably couldn't hear me because of the frickin' microphone. But I really wanted to build an outdoor wash bay, you know, a pole barn again. But it's just not, it's not in the cards. It's too wide. So the one I wanted to do is a little bit too big. And it's just was such a problem getting it signed off, getting engineering. You know, we have issues with obviously wind speeds of potential hurricanes, which, you know, aren't super often, but, you know, you basically are making a big kite when you make an open pole barn. And so it's easier to just enclose it. So if I'm going to enclose it, I'm going to turn it into a whole, I actually talked about this inside the hex and showed where I was at with what I was planning on doing. But now it's going to cost, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do, versus I wanted to be around 100,000 to build the outdoor wash bay. And I wanted to take those progressive steps. You know, I had the outdoor wash bay at the last house, but I didn't build that, or 2 houses ago. I wanted to build one from scratch, just to, you know, to follow my whole idea of you take progressions in life and you enjoy the process. But it's just not in the cards, and so I stopped the fight. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just build a darn 4-car. So it's going to be 50 by 40. I'm going to build an upstairs. I'm going to build my office theater. I'm going to do the whole thing, build the whole thing, and then have an indoor wash bay. Figure out how to deal with water and humidity and things like that in there. Put a slot drain in, so that won't actually have an actual drain and a dedicated area for washing. I've sort of explained and figured out how to do that. I'm sure I'll do some things that I'd like to improve, so that way when I go build a house, I'll know more about, you know, what I like and disliked about the process. But then that means I need to air condition the whole thing. It just becomes a whole much bigger expense than just pouring a slab and putting a darn pole barn up. So washing in here is not a big deal, in that when when I'm done, you can see the water runs out underneath the garage door. It only makes it to about here. The slope of the garage is pitched, whatever, 1 degree or something like that, 2 degrees. So the garage is pitched that way. I don't get anything on my cabinets because I'm, say, 15 feet away from them. I focus on, when you're washing indoors, you want to focus on pointing downward. So we'll see. We're testing it out in Helen with people washing inside. We'll see how they do, because most people don't actually listen to that idea. And when it's not yours, you don't think about it as much. You just kind of do. And so you'll see when I'm not just shooting outwards, and especially when I'm pointing back toward my cabinets, I need to make sure I'm washing. So this pre-cleaning step takes a few minutes, and that you can see me sort of talking, looking at the product, getting it to run off the car, and this will help to sort of pre-clean, pre-cleanse. And with modern coatings now, and it's designed, even though this is a high pH, the pH of this is very similar to Brake Buster. So there's a lot of people that are questioning, well, could I just use Brake Buster? Could I use an all-purpose cleaner? Could I maybe use the OG Decon soap? Not all detergents and surfactants, in other words, not all pH is created equal. I've said this a bunch of times, and so Pete Hamber was talking to me about the surface cleansers in this product are designed to attack dirt chemically, not your last step, not your coating or sealant, and so. Just the fact that a company like Built Hamber, where you have a chemist like Pete, versus say, I'm sure that Koch Chemie, I'm sure that Sonax, I'm sure that other companies have products that can do this, but I'm just not as confident, and I haven't done as much testing. I don't know how I would really test that. That I'm not as confident in their testing, because they have so many different products. Versus this is a product made specifically for this by a chemist who this is like his life's work, and to me, I think my odds of getting a surface cleaner that isn't destroying my surface protection, because that's always been my argument, is that I don't want to strip the surface protection off. I work so hard to get it on there. And so now with the durability of coatings, their chemical resistance combined with more modern chemistry and surface cleaning products, this I think can be a really awesome combination. The other problem with certain levels of pH is that it messes up all your trim. Which to me, oftentimes, that's the difference maker in a really nice car and an okay car, is the quality and the, how the trim's been maintained. It's easy to get shiny paint. It's hard to have a full package. You'll also notice when I'm doing a surface level cleaner, it just makes sense to me, I'm going to wash bottom up, because I don't want to rinse the product off. I want to sort of use the pressure washer for what it's designed. I want to get take the soap with the dirt off, and so it makes sense to me to go bottom up. Which is counter to what you do with washing normally. So if I do build a wash bay, and so I have this garage, I have the wash bay, the wash bay is also going to have curtains, and it's going to have a separator wall, so I'll be able to keep the cars that are stored in there clean. I have OGHQ, and so it could become practical for me to have and keep more cars in my future. So now, again, we added that step. So now we go to regular soap. So this is GSF. And so the common question would be, why wouldn't you just do the same thing with GSF? Why wouldn't you put GSF on and rinse it off? Because that's sort of a pointless exercise. Yes, there's some detergent cleaning. There's some chemicals in here that'll do a little bit of cleaning. But this is designed to be a pH neutral, really light soap, a soap designed simply for, I think, lubrication. I mean, that's the main goal of this product, is to add lubrication, so that way I have less chance of damaging or scratching the surface. So the theory goes that you would pre-cleanse, you would then get lubrication on the surface, then we're going to do a contact wash. The contact wash isn't touching the surface, or there isn't as much dirt on the surface theoretically. Although I find that really hasn't been much of an issue for me over the years anyway. And then you rinse, do the final rinse. I can definitely tell though, see these little, what look to be bare spots? That's contact angle, right? So, meaning the contact angle or the surface tension of the coated car is sort of rejecting. So as soon as the water and soap hits the surface, the angle is of where the water and the soap hits, it immediately wants to sort of bend into itself and fall off. And so I don't notice that nearly as much when I don't do a pre-wash. I know what I was going to talk about now. So when people are using a foam cannon like this, they generally go like this. They just swipe around and they don't paint the surface. Like this. It's real simple, right? I'm going to get soap on the surface. I just didn't understand. I'm like, man, this thing is really not sticking. This pre-wash is good, man. So anyway, I couldn't figure out why all these videos I see of people non-detailers, just young YouTubers or Instagram photo or Instagram marketing videos of weird products, and they always have the Greenworks pressure washer with or some cheap chemical guy's pressure washer or something with a big giant, they have it on the end of the lance, and so you're trying to hold the foam cannon out, and they're just kind of doing this motion, putting crap all over the place. And I could never figure, I'm like, why? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? The whole point of foaming the car is to get a nice even layer of soap on the surface. It makes it easier for you to tell when you're washing the car, where have I been? What have I touched? What have I contacted? It adds lubrication to the surface. And so just, paint the surface nice and smooth. It never occurred to me that you would do anything other than that. And yet, I've had many, many people where I've taught and trained how to wash, and they all do the same thing. I'm like, what is going, it just doesn't even register with me why you would even consider doing it that way. And then it finally hit. It finally makes sense to me. So, despite my chubby appearance, I'm actually a reasonable athlete, right? I'm not a world-class athlete, but I'm a pretty decent athlete. I can play sports in most cases. And I'm usually pretty good at like one thing in a sport. Like in volleyball, I was a really, really good hitter. Wasn't a great blocker. Was a pretty terrible passer. In comparison. So proportionally, like when I'm working out, I'm pretty decent at a couple of things and pretty mediocre at others. But there's still a simple function of just basic movement, just basic form. And I'm drawing an analogy here to why I think people do this kind of weird washing technique. And so there's a movement in CrossFit called a wall ball, where you have a medicine ball or a med ball, those as they call it, which is a weighted ball, and usually it's 20 pounds, and you've seen them. They're like wrapped in leather, and you take that and you sort of hold it, in this upright position under your elbows. And what you'll do is you'll go feet shoulder width apart, and now some people, especially older people, have flexibility issues where they can't do like a full depth squat, especially with arms up, and so they tend to collapse. And so it's just a pretty simple movement, right? I take the ball, I throw it up to 10 feet, and I understand, if you're shorter or older, not as strong, what a lot of people will do is, the standard, the RX weight is generally 20 pounds for guys and 14 pounds for girls. And I'm taller, so it's particularly good movement for me. So I'm pretty good at wall balls because you're not throwing it as far. But then again, when you're shorter, you don't have to squat down as far, right? Your range of motion is not as far. And so the coaches will spend a lot of time. You have the ball. You're like, all right, when you throw the ball up, you follow through. So as you extend up from the squat, you follow up. You throw the ball up, it hits the wall, and it takes a little bit of coordination. Because if you throw it kind of off one hand more than the other, the ball can kind of spin. Or if you throw it too vertically, it doesn't hit the wall and come back to you. But you do a few of those, and most people are coordinated enough that you can kind of do it. It's a really easy movement, especially for an athlete or a former athlete. And so they show us that. And some of these people have been doing this, CrossFit business for years, 5 years, 10 years, or longer. And yet 90% of the people, they can't do this simple function of catch the ball, throw it up. It goes like this, boom. Catch the ball just like that. Nice and easy, anybody should be able to do it. And the way to make it easier is don't throw to 10 feet. Girls throw to 9 feet, guys throw to 10. Just throw it to 8 feet. Or get a lighter ball. And so what happens is, the coaches tell everybody, they show us how to do it, they walk around, they critique people. And yet in the workout, and by the way, this is just one movement of every single movement. So let's say there's 20 people there. Let's just make it simpler. Let's say there's 10 people there. 2 of them can do that. The other 8 do some crazy, like they'll catch the ball here and they'll do this, and they'll drop the ball and try to catch it, or they'll squat like this and just kind of which does nothing, right? Just throw the ball. They'll throw the ball to they'll have an 8-pound ball, and they'll throw it to just right above their hands, and they'll do this, which is freaking pointless. I don't care if you're broken. You can at least get 50% squat, a simple half squat. And so, but where they go wrong is a lot of people will do a full squat and they'll actually squat way too low, and but they bring the ball down here. What I'm getting at is they do all kinds of wrong stuff, and it's every single movement. They figure out a way, even if they're running, they figure out a way to not run properly. They figure out a way to, I don't even know how some of the things that people do, how does it even occur to them to do that? Some of it's pretty interesting, pretty creative, just some crazy crap, So I then realized, I'm well, that's why people can't use a foam cannon, because most people just, simple fundamental things don't occur to them. And most people And almost none of you watching this video will have this mentality, have this issue. You're not most people, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. You wouldn't last 5 seconds watching me. I'm not saying you'd do a great wall ball, but after a while, you'd figure it out. You'd start critiquing, maybe you get the camera out or your phone and say, you know, something doesn't feel right. I'm just not it doesn't feel like I'm doing what I'm seeing other people. Well, I'm seeing the 2 people out of the 10 that can actually do it. Like something doesn't seem right. And then oftentimes in fundamentals in sports or fundamentals in washing a car or something like that, you just draw a line and say, look, I've worked on this enough. I'm just going to kind of do it this way. This is just the way that I do it. And I make some, you know, people with their golf swing or something, you know, they just say, you know what, I kind of, you know, like who was it? Jim Furyk, who had like a really weird swing, and then he mastered that really odd swing. And despite, I'm sure, many coaches telling him this is never going to work, so he just kind of said, "This works for me. I'm gonna do it this way," and that's cool because that requires some thought. But now I get it, and I'm not really mad about it. I just get so mad about it. It's like, why can you not use a foam cannon? It doesn't make any sense. This is like just so simple. It drives me crazy seeing these videos. And then I realized that's just people. You know, they just doesn't, maybe they don't, I think most people, they just don't care enough. Like, and that's probably better. Like just, like, Matt, why do I care? Just getting some soap on the car. I don't care if I do it right or wrong. I'm just doing it this way. I just can't relate to that. Same thing as I can't relate to, like, you know, when I was young and poor and stupid, I couldn't relate to people who would hold that against others, you know. I want to be that. So how do I watch that? So, you know, when I was starting out doing whatever it is, whatever sport, I'd watch other people and say, man, okay, that person's good. How can I be good like that? Instead of, and I think almost the vast majority of you watching this video would think the same way, whether you're watching me and you're a young guy saying, well, shoot, how could I do whatever I'm doing that you find interesting? How could I get a really nice E92 someday, or you know, whatever the thing you're interested in? I think having that mentality of, let me see how this person's doing it, and then how could I apply some of their technique to what I'm doing to improve, instead of just accepting wrong, just flat out weird wrong. And that's just people, most people. And I don't think it's a conscious thing. It's just a natural thing. So some people just naturally are inquisitive and coachable, teachable, and most people are not. But it explains to me, it makes more sense to me now why I see all of this weirdness going on with a foam cannon. I know this is a really niche topic to matter to anybody, but this is kind of what I do. And I don't know, I just find it really frustrating. Now I just find it fascinating. I kind of understand it a little bit more. So I didn't want to be like, with detailing. I've never been like the form police. In those of you who are into fitness, if you watch anything in fitness, and if you look at any comment of any fitness person, the comments are always the form police going in, looking, critiquing. They're looking for a little hitch, any kind of mistake, so they can say, you're not doing it right. And I'm not doing that. It's just some things are just so ridiculous. Like, I actually admire some people who, like that Jim Furyk, or there's lots of people in basketball that have a unorthodox shot that can actually function really well, just from insane amounts of practice and doing it essentially incorrectly. Al Horford has a really weird looking shot that now he's a great three-point shooter. Trying to think of some others. Anyway, for whatever that's worth. I don't know why it was bothering me so much. And some of it is like, I just want to help these people. Guys, please, just let me help you. Because this is insane. What are you doing? I think I'm grown up enough to where, freaking cockroach, man, stop twitching. So I don't feel like I'm approaching it from a superiority complex. It's more of a, man, I just feel this overwhelming need to educate and to teach. Hey, let me show you how to use a darn foam cannon. Let me show you how to do a wall ball. Man, I feel like I'm growing up a lot. Like, if I would have had this conversation with you even a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, there had been some anger attached to that. You suck. Why can't you freaking use a foam cannon? I'm growing up, people, right before your eyes. So remember, listen to the words I'm saying without the judgment. Some of you are hearing that as judging. I'm not thinking negatively of the people that can't do a wall ball. I'm thinking about, man, how could we get people up to speed? And I think that's what I've been doing all this time with Obsessed Garage, and what I've been chasing here is like, how can I like share what I've learned with the world, because I've done it wrong so many different ways, outside of the natural incorrect tendency. Like when I learned how to do a wall ball, I just couldn't squat down low enough. Didn't have the flexibility to do it. I never really had some of these really odd habits, like where it's just so unnatural, like unnatural tendencies. Ryan's in there playing Fortnite. So I think some people with their foam cannon will just never they just don't have a chance to use it right. It's just not going to happen. It's not in the cards for them. I'm just going to leave them alone. But there's many that can be saved. We can save the world from weird Instagram foam cannon use. And then we do a really good job of this. Maybe I can actually teach them how to get a decent pressure washer and a decent foam cannon. That would be even cooler. But the smart business move, you know, there's plenty of people online that show you how to get junk, right? And they quote unquote review junk. I'm not even interested in that. Like what? Why are we even going there? Let's just not do it. I think that's my problem in life. It's my blessing and a curse. Michelle yells at me all the time. She's like, why can't you just go and do something for fun? I'm like, I just don't. I either want to get really interested in it or not do it. She's like, well, that's a tough way to live. I said, yeah, I guess. Like, I'm not interested in going bowling, right, just as for fun, because I'm going to be terrible at it. And that, to me, is not any fun. So if I'm going to start bowling, I need to, like, start bowling all the time. She's like, well, why can't we just go bowling? I was like, I'm going to be terrible. And then I'm going to want to, like, bowl, like, 3 days, 4, 5, 6 days a week. And I'm never going to do that, so let's just not even do it. She said, oh man, that's a tough way to live, Maddie. I said, yeah, I guess. Or I could just spend all of my time having fun, doing what I love. Let's get a little different angle here. Man, this car's pretty. It's a pretty looking car. Let's dry it off. Man, I wish I could transplant my thoughts while I'm drying the car. That's kind of what I'm doing here in this on these videos. Is I'm just I'm like super present in the thought while I'm doing this task. And you know, sometimes the task gets screwed up a little bit by doing this because I'm not 100% focused on the task. Sometimes the thoughts get screwed up a little bit because I'm focused on the task of washing the car. So it's interesting when I am blow drying off the car, some of the thoughts that enter into my head, and I wish I could articulate those to you in real time while I was doing that. So we need Neuralink. And then I started thinking about Neuralink and then evolution and all kinds of stuff. And how you know, imagine somebody 50 years ago trying to comprehend the interconnectivity that we have now, you know, via YouTube and you know, social media and then phones and all the different technology that we have and how it's integrated into our society. And then it's incomprehensible that maybe that some of that technology would be actually become biologic or become, you know, something that we figure out how to evolve by implanting it in ourselves and then eventually evolutionarily over a long, long period of time, maybe then it starts to actually be produced in, biologically when you're born. I don't know, just some incomprehensible subjects that we head toward in the future. Anyway, the reason I started thinking that was the intent or words. So I started thinking about how when I made a post about the Evo and how I basically said what I said with the words that I said is that, or that I typed, I intended to get a beater. And of course, my definition of beater today is very different than beater tomorrow, now, or yesterday, years ago. My definition of a beater is different because of my economic status, wherever I'm at, wherever I have in the bank account, if you will. And the bank account comes from, in my case, in most cases, comes from effort. So the comments immediately were basically disparaging my comments in that so essentially I said I planned to find a beater, which would have been like a 30,000 mile Evo something or other STI hatch that needed some love. It's kind of like my GT3 RS, the giveaway RS is a beater to me. It's a beater that now is I've gotten it about as nice as I'm going to get it, and so that car is not as nice as this car. No matter what I did to it, it wasn't going to be as nice as this. Even if I did a full nut and bolt restoration and tore the whole thing apart, repainted the whole thing, then it would have it would be a repainted car. It wouldn't be as nice as this one. So that to me, you can take a beater and restore it and make it really, really nice. Now most people, you see all these guys on YouTube doing restorations, those cars are junk. They're not, it'll never be this, where you're buying basically a brand new car. And so I had made the comment on Instagram, and I said, I'm looking for a beater. It backfired on me. I didn't say backfire. What did I say? I said I was looking for a beater car. I found it, sort of, or something like that. And so then people started getting angry, and that that's my dream car, blah blah blah. You're some beater, and basically I was saying it's not a beater. I understand it's a beater. It's not a beater because it's the best one I could find, one of probably the best ones available in existence. And I'm a sucker for the ability to. I'm kind of going back in time, and I'm buying a car that I'd ever bought and wasn't able to get at the time, and now I got one, and I get to kind of relive it, but in a different place in life. And so I can really enjoy it. And so people will have a tendency to take words and then attach them to something that happened to you between the ages of 2 and 10. That's what my coach tells me all the time. He said, you have to remember that most people are scarred by something that happened to them between the age of 2 and 10. And then that's where that's what we all hold on to, me included, everybody, all of us. And where you can get to a higher level in life is to understand when that is happening to you, so that way you can fight it off and understand it. And if you really understand it, then you can really take advantage in life. You can really maximize your hours of energy, your hours of thought. It can really improve your entire existence. And so most of us, me included, oftentimes on your blind spot, you can't do it. Like, I was talking about that anger I get around of people not knowing how to use a darn foam cannon. Why the heck am I angry about that? What is going on there inside of me that is causing that waste of energy? So anyway, there's all these people in the Facebook group or wherever it was that were on Instagram that were giving me a hard time. They were angry about me saying it's a beater. But I never even said those words. I was saying, you know, it was kind of joking. I can understand how you could take it out of context, but it was kind of half jokingly like, look, I wanted to find a beater. I didn't do it. I screwed up and I bought one. It's really, really nice. Probably not the wisest decision. It's kind of backfiring on the whole point. And then I bought the car. I want a car that I don't care as much as I care about this car. That was the other thing. I said, I don't want to care about it as much. And so then people hear or they read, don't care. No, I do care too darn much because I freaking love this car. And part of the reason why I'm having such angst driving it around is because I don't want to freaking mess it up. And so if I have a car that I don't love as much and don't care about as much, maybe I'll be able to have a positive driving experience, and maybe I can kind of let go a bit and get myself back on the road, not have issues with panic attacks with driving. So there's lots of words being inserted into something I'm not even freaking saying. And I think that the more mature we all get, the more time you spend on self-reflection, the more you'll be able to identify when that's happening to you. And you'll be able to have the ability to then transition from, you know, angst and anger and things like that into using that energy that you otherwise would have expended into improvement. So that's the whole, you know, rich versus poor thing. Like, you're rich, you don't understand. Well, no, I understand that if we're the same age, we kind of grew up the same, and I'm rich and you're poor, what decisions were made. And then I think the key is to take ownership of that. And if you take ownership of it, you won't waste energy on, you know, the anger or the, you know, the judgment, assessment, opinion that comes. And so, hey, I didn't study. Hey, I didn't work. I took that extra day off, or I didn't show up for work and quit that job. It's on me. And if you take the day that you take ownership is the day that, like, I took ownership when I had my first meltdown and be like, you know what? I don't really have a lot of friends. You know, I don't have a lot of human connection. It's kind of all been on me and by myself. And so I took ownership of that. I didn't really have much of a choice because I was in full panic mode. And then that ownership completely changed my life and then changed the trajectory of the whole thing. And so I think that the day you can take ownership of, well, that's funny. You know, Matt's saying that's a beater to him. I really like that car. Like, my question to that guy who's getting angry about it that doesn't have the car, why don't you have the car? Why didn't you get it? It's like, well, and then you start making excuses. There was a really interesting quote. I was listening to Robert Kennedy Jr. on the Lex Friedman podcast, I think it was. And he made a comment about, let's see if I can remember, how did it go? It was, we tend to hold ourselves to the esteem of what our intentions are, not what our actions are. I thought that was really powerful. So we hold ourselves out. You know, we believe we are who our intentions. You know, what did I intend to do? I intend to not eat Twinkies, and yet I ate them anyway. And so I'm holding myself out as now outwardly, we can't cheat this, right? Because I'm freaking chubby, so I can't lie to you about it. I can't lie to you, and lie to myself and say, you know what, I've got a six-pack and I'm super fit. Because my intentions were to be that, but I didn't actually do it. I didn't execute. My actions doesn't speak to that. So there's some outwardly things like that where fitness is not, you can't really cheat it. You know, you can't, I guess you could lie to yourself about it, but then then you have a whole nother set of problems, a bit of delusion. So I can take ownership. And when I take ownership, then I have a choice, you know. I don't have to like, I guess I don't have to like attack. I don't have to feel, I don't have to defend. I don't have to then judge and assess myself or others as much because I've taken ownership. You know what, Dumbo, you frickin' ate a bunch of chips yesterday, and so that's why you're not frickin' fit. Or that's why you don't have a six-pack. And so you don't have a Mitsubishi or you don't have an M3. Well, why the heck not? Why not? If you want it, if you claim to want it, why don't you have one? Now, there may be some risk that you need to take at some point. Pretty much every car I've ever bought, there's been a little bit of risk attached to it. Even the Evo, there's a little bit of risk attached to it, meaning that, you know, maybe that $80,000 I spent on it, you know, probably would have been better served somewhere else. But, you know, make that choice. Make the choice. You know, I probably could have gotten my first E92 earlier than I did, but I made a choice at some point to take a risk and get it. But I did get it. And then what I didn't do was get stuck on my insecurities around, you know, from age 2 to 10, those insecurities that you develop, I didn't get attached to that. I've watched other people get the car and said, man, I'm looking at their wall ball form, their proverbial wall ball form. How are they doing this? And man, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna get this done. How am I gonna do that? And usually, actually for me, it's never been like planning. Like I'm not very good at planning out things. I'm more of a, let me just do a bunch of stuff and then we'll see where, and I have faith that it'll end up in a spot somewhere near where I had intended. And so I think that this concept of ownership, what were my intentions, and then how much did I execute on my intentions, and when I did not execute on it, being honest, if I'm honest with myself that, man, I really didn't do what I intended, and so the only person I should be holding accountable is me. And if I can do that, then I'll get the darn car. Or maybe I'll realize that I'm not willing to do what's necessary. And then I'll never have this mentality of rich versus poor. I'm just, wherever I am, and I'm gonna continue to chase some sort of improvement. And I'm gonna get, if I really want the car, and I'm really honest with myself that I want it and I'm willing to do what it takes to get it, then I don't see how it wouldn't happen unless you had some really extenuating circumstances. You know, and knowing that we don't all start off on the same playing field. You know, we don't all start off from the same spot. And I find that rather motivating. And I think that if you don't find it motivating, your odds of, you know, getting whatever car you hope to have is not very good without that ownership component. Most people hold themselves out. Most people classify themselves in the same esteem as their intentions rather than their actions. That's pretty profound. So I think in order to do that, it takes ownership, it takes a little bit of self-awareness as well. And then when there is injustice. In my case, the injustice is that there are many companies that copy, and steal my ideas, and then they get to profit off of that. That to me is a major injustice. And when I was pretty insecure in the beginning of this, starting out, not sure if I should even be doing this, and taking a lot of risk, it was really, really frustrating. I spent too much time thinking about it, too much energy focused on it, too much. Now, there was some positive benefit to that angst. It made me move faster, work harder, try more. But there was too much energy focused on the comparisons and then the complaining of, why are they doing this to me? Why are they stealing this? Instead of me focused on, well, either how am I going to figure out a way, if it matters that much to me, why don't I figure out a way to protect it? What matters more to me is that I get to share with you in real time where my interests are. And if I'm going to do that, that means I'm going to give up my secrets. There's so many companies, so many people have this like secretive mentality. I find that I can't let anybody in if I do that. Like I miss the fruits of, a little bit of authenticity. I lose the ability to really get excited if I hold it in. That's what got me into trouble in my life to begin with, was holding it all in and keeping it all internal, and then melted down because of it. And so the disadvantage to not being secretive and keeping all my ideas to myself is that then you're giving the blueprint out for how to copy it. And by the way, if I had done that, a lot of the things that have taken off, like the short gun and some of the things in pressure washing, some various things in detailing, things that have been copied and become more mainstream or more popular. If I had kept it to myself, it probably wouldn't have worked for me either. So although I feel like I've gotten ideas stolen from me, there is some benefit to a little bit of virality that happens with different products and things by just being uber transparent about what I'm interested in. And so as I've matured and as I've learned that really doesn't matter and that I'm still going to be okay. So I think a lot of the insecurity comes around, man, they're going to take it and I'm not going to have any for me and I'm going to be screwed. But that hasn't proven to be true. So sometimes your insecurities need a little bit of life experience in order to overcome them. But the moral of the point here is, are you judging yourself by your actions, not just your intentions? Are you scoring yourself by what you intended to do? And are you judging others by what your intents were rather than what your actions are? Why doesn't he give more money? Well, how much have you given? That's usually a projection that we have, saying, well, who's going to take care of the poor? Well, he should pay more taxes. Billionaires should pay more tax. I bet you they pay more tax than you do. Yeah, but the percentage isn't, well, yeah, but what's the number? And then why aren't you a billionaire? Part of it is luck. Part of it is where you started out. Some people get a head start. But that's the world, that's life. Not every elk in nature is it unfair that a baby elk gets eaten by the grizzly bear before he ever has a chance because he was a little slower than the other baby elk that was next to him. That's That's life, man. That's nature. And I think once we accept that, you can really thrive. We judge ourselves, we rate ourselves, or we hold ourselves in the esteem of our intentions, not our actions. That's so powerful, man. I love that. I think I'm going to put the cover on this because I'm going to be pretty entrenched in messing around with the Evo, getting it on the road. So I think I'm going to cover this sucker up and keep it clean. I do want to detail the Rivian as well. So I got a lot of detailing and car projects here over the course of the next month and a half or so that I'm going to be doing. So the old E92, I've driven it a fair bit this past week. So I feel like I'll give it a little rest, give it a little break, have it nice and clean, tuck it in the corner, let it hang out. I think it's been pretty interesting how, I don't know if it's the YouTube algorithm that's gotten me, but I've been much more interested in the future presidential race than I ever have before. I don't know that I really care all that much. I'll figure out a way around it, no matter what's Gary Vee say. If you think it matters who's president when it comes to your success, you're a loser, or something like that. Now, it does matter from, I guess, a tax policy perspective to some extent. But we sure seem to be. I listened to Ken Dowd a lot, who was, I used to invest in his mutual fund, so he's a, just a pure data, pure analytics guy. And so I used to read all this research. He was a BlackRock mutual fund manager. I forget the fund. I think it was BlackRock Capital Appreciation. And Merrill Lynch they had merged Merrill Lynch funds with BlackRock funds. And so I think Merrill Lynch owned like 49% of BlackRock or something at one point. And so we had really good access to their research. And so I followed him a lot. I think I read his research anytime he published anything, I read it. And so he's been talking a lot about the demographics of things. And there's I think it's like a 20-minute, really well done YouTube thing, or YouTube, it's not a series, but an episode on talking about the rise and fall of empires and what happens. It's pretty interesting. So we're in that typical money printing phase that happens quite often when an empire is nearing its end. So I think it's really important, or much more important than it has been, on who the leadership is. So it's been, I don't know, I just find it more interesting. I find it more interesting than I've ever found it to be. But again, as you mature and as you understand who you are and start to figure these things out, like I'm sure some of you your blood's starting to boil if I mention this person or that person, this potential leader, that potential leader. It gets some people, your blood starts to boil and you start to get all wound up. Like we can't. I just think that as a human, you can't have that. You've got to let that kind of stuff go. You got to identify what's happening in you when you're having those reactions to things. And then you can be very subjective and think about things critically, logically. Like, for instance, one of the things that's really common, unproven common knowledge is that rod bearings need to be replaced in an E92. And so my thought or my question is, well, show me. Why is that the case? It's kind of, car guy lore that happened in forums, and I think there was a few 2008 engines that had blown up, and then the culprit was shown to be, the correlation was shown to be, the rod bearings. But it hasn't been my experience. I haven't seen cars blowing up all over the place. I would need some, just common sense, logical information that just doesn't exist. It's always just, well, it is. You just don't know. I've seen it. And so, who the heck? I don't take the advice of frickin' mechanics on anything, ever. Especially if they don't have, now, if it's a mechanic that is, has not just replaced them, but has some, show me some evidence here. Because I think it's a bunch of nonsense. And putting the rod bearings out on a sheet of paper on a table is great marketing, but show me all these blown engines. And then the argument is, well, we would have all kinds of blown engines if we weren't changing all these rod bearings. And I just don't frickin' buy it. It just doesn't make common sense to me. And I could be wrong. I'm okay with that. I think that's what resonates with me with Robert Kennedy Jr. I've never been I don't have any interest in, most democratic policies and giving stuff away to people. It's just not interesting to me. I'm just more interested in leadership. Who's the leader, not what's the party or what's the whatever weird political nonsense. I'm not interested in any of that stuff at all. I'm interested in leadership, especially now being a leader. Leadership to me, I feel like I can identify it better because I've had to really look at myself internally and figure out, what am I about? Where am I going wrong in life? Why am I having problems driving down the road? I've had to really spend a lot of time with that. When you're getting heated or angry about something, where's the deficiency? Why is that? Is that an insecurity thing? Is that warranted? And it's almost never, if I really assess what's going on, I don't think it's ever been warranted for me to have a, sort of a real negative reaction, a real, anger-provoking or angst-provoking reaction. Most of it's rooted in something that isn't real. So that's been the big shift, the big discovery over the last couple of years is that, being present in things helps you to see things much more clearly. And seeing things clearly is not always the easiest thing to do, especially if we're taught to think differently or think otherwise. And so I guarantee you that some of you that are hearing me say, I don't think that rod bearings are the big issue that the world has just decided they are. If that gets you heated, you're probably not in the right mindset. Because if you really think about it, you really ask yourself, where did I really come up with that? And what, don't give me the freaking science argument or any of that crap. Just show me some real common sense information. Hey, here, this is very clear. Here, Matt, here's this very clear, whatever it is, documentation, these 5,000 examples. I don't know, maybe I'm asking for a bit too much in order to have a common sense conclusion on something. And it's not because somebody said that I deem credible. They said it's so then I accept it. That's what gets people so angry when I say something is so and I give you some evidence. Now, there are many things that I say are so that I don't give you the proper evidence. And that makes some people who have a differing opinion angry. But I'm not looking for opinions. I'm looking for experience. What is the actual experience? All right, that's a wrap. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about to you here today. I think the general theme of the future of my at least near-term existence is, am I holding myself in the esteem of my actions or my intentions? Because intentions mean nothing. Intentions mean very little. It's what are your actions? So anyway, thanks for watching. As always, stay tuned for more crazy. Hopefully this one's exposed a little better, and hopefully we got some decent audio. I'm gonna go check it out. I'm trying to put the mic down here rather than up here. And then what I really need to focus on is frickin' nose breathing and not doing the heavy breathing stuff. So maybe I'll do some more wall balls so I can be a little bit fitter. We'll see you on the next one.